Hey guys, my name is John Thomas and I'm the Dreams Guy. I'm here with another Dream Lab episode. So I've got a dream here in the journal. This was sent in from somebody from Germany, one of our Streams teachers, Iris Trumper. And I'm sure I'm not saying her last name correctly, but I try really hard. This dream was sent in our tribe portal where we have a place for people to send in their dreams. And so I'm going to read this dream and we're going to talk through it and interpret it together. So let's see where we're at. Okay. So here's our dream. Now, this dream was dated January the 13th, 2024. Now, we're recording this in the beginning of April, so I'm not sure when you're watching it, but about 3 months after the dream was had, this is when we're getting to interpret this dream. And here's what she wrote down as her dream. In my dream, I recognized after a church service that I had lost Caleb. Now, Caleb is the dreamer's son, so that's context. Something else that might be helpful for you, Iris and her husband pastor a church there in Germany. So this is, it's not necessarily just a church that they're attending, but they're actually leading. So that context is helpful when we're trying to understand that for the dream. So after a church service, I recognized that I'd lost Caleb. Many people were still around and I was searching for him and asking the people if they'd seen him. My husband helped me searching. He got the information where Caleb was, at a place nearby where an organization offered a kind of game or activity. In this game, one person got held captive and they were trying to figure out how to get free again. An important part of the game, or the setting in the game, was that there was an evil goat that tried to keep you trapped there. My husband and I started walking to that place in order to help Caleb get free. And that's where the dream ends. Okay, so mention the important information about the dreamer pastoring the church. So there's some context there. This is about her son. Let me recap the dream for you. So she is at the end of a church service and she's realizing that she can't find her son. So she starts looking. There's other people there. She's asking them, have you seen Caleb? Have you seen Caleb? Her husband starts to help her searching for Caleb. Her husband finds out, oh, we know where he's at. There's this other organization. They do this game thing where they trap somebody and then the game is to see if they can get free. And that's where he's at. And they know that in this game, there is an evil goat that's trying to keep the people trapped and they've got to get free. So they set off to go help their son get free because we're assuming in the dream, he must be the one that's being trapped in this game. And that's where the dream ends. So here's what I want you to do. If you've taken any of our dream interpretation training, the Understanding Dreams and Visions course, or the dream interpretation module out of Streams Academy, I want you to pause the video here in just a second, and you're gonna come up with a title of the dream. What would you title this dream if you were going to give it a title? Who or what is the focus of the dream? What are the sub-focuses of the dream? Are there any important details related to those sub-focuses? Once you've gotten that, then figure out what those elements might mean and write out an interpretation for the dreamer. You're going to write it as if you were talking to Iris for yourself. This is what this dream means. This is what God is saying. Once you've got all that together, then go ahead and restart this video and I'll let you know what I got for focuses, sub-focuses, some of the key elements of the dream, and then we'll talk a little bit about maybe some applications for the dreamer, what they should do with this dream and how to respond. So when you're ready, restart the video and we'll see you soon. So what did you guys come up with a title? I'm going to call this The Lost Son. A little bit obvious, but it's easy, it's descriptive, and it's really the main thing that's going on in this dream. The dreamer's trying to find their son feels lost to them. So that's a good title for it. What is our focus? Well, in this dream, you have the dreamer that is at the church service after the church service is over, realizing that their son is lost. The dreamer's talking to people, trying to figure out where their son is. The dreamer is talking to the husband who's helping, and the dreamer finds out from the husband. So the focus of this dream is the dreamer. You might have put the dreamer and the husband as a co-focus. That would be participating. We call a dream where the dreamer is either the focus of the dream, they're participating, or they're observing. So it really is more about the dreamer, but you could have put the husband in there if you wanted to. So if you put the husband in as the focus with the dreamer, so the dreamer and her husband, then the husband is also not also a sub-focus. So that affects it. Personally, I just put the dreamer as the focus. What are our sub-focuses? Well, you have two main sub-focuses and maybe three. So one is the lost son, Caleb. Caleb is a sub-focus, even though he's not in there. So it's more about him being lost than it is about Caleb in this particular one, but you cannot separate those. So I would put the lost son as the sub-focus off of the dreamer. The other one I would put is this game, whatever this game that is where they find out that the son is there. Now, some of you might have put the search as a sub-focus. You could have done that, or it's an important detail off of the lost son. Either way, you can't leave the search out, so you could have done it either way. I put it as a detail off of the lost son. Then you've got the other people that are at the church. So the context is the church setting. So I put that as a detail off of the dreamer, because it's the dreamer is after the church service. They're at the church with the people of the church. They're looking for their son. So that's not really a sub-focus, but it is an important detail. So you want to put that in there. And it doesn't fit with any of the other sub-focuses necessarily. So that's why I put that as a detail off of the dreamer. The next sub-focus is this game. Now, if you haven't put the husband as part of the focus, which I didn't, I actually put the husband as a detail off of the game, because the husband is the one that lets the dreamer know where the son is at. He found out that he was at this organization that has this game going on. So the husband would be there. Another thing that's part of that off of the game is going to be the trapped, stuck, trapped, caught. That one of those words, whichever one you chose that you think is going to be the best, that fits as a detail off of the game. And the other one that's really important is the evil goat. There's an evil goat that keeps people trapped. That, again, is a very important detail. Not quite a sub-focus, because if you leave it out, it doesn't completely change the plot of the dream, but it is important to the storyline. All right, so those are all of your elements that are absolutely necessary. So now we're going to start figuring out, are they real, are they literal, or are they metaphoric? And we're going to start with the dreamer. Is it literal, the dreamer, actually the dreamer, or is the dreamer metaphoric? Well, they're pretty literal. In this dream, it falls apart if the dreamer is not literal. It doesn't, it's really hard to make that make any sense. It just gets more confusing. So the dreamer is literal, which means that the husband is also literal. The son, is the son more literal, or is the son metaphoric? Well, in this dream, the son is actually literal. It's not a metaphor for something that the dreamer has birthed. It's not a metaphor for something that's related to the dreamer. It's actually about their son. Now, the big thing that's going on is this whole search for their son. So the fact that the son is lost, is their son going to physically get lost? Probably not. That is where the metaphor comes in. So this sense of not being able to connect, not being able to find their son, not being connected, where are they looking for the son? In church. So it seems to be saying that there's some kind of a season where it's going to feel like there's a separation, where their son is not as connected in the church, and they're going to feel that loss. Like, what's going on? Why is Caleb not as connected as he used to be? Now, we're going to get through application here in a second, but we want to get through the interpretation before we get there, because this will make a little bit more sense as we finish getting through the dream. Where's the son lost? This game, some type of a game. Now, is that game more literal or is it more metaphoric? Well, it's probably more metaphoric. Now, it could be a game. There's a couple different possibilities. It's something that is entertaining. It's something that is not connected to the church. It's outside of the church. So it's another organization. It's another group. And it's not a good thing. There's an evil goat. That is not a good thing. So it's clearly not just another ministry or something along that lines. This is something of a worldly system. The organization is some type of a worldly situation, a worldly system. And this game is something that seems entertaining. It seems like it's supposed to be fun. Games are supposed to be fun, but it actually traps people. And that is that seeing. So there's something about the son getting trapped by something that's seemingly entertaining or is supposed to be fun, but it's actually trapped. But it's not just a natural thing. This goat, the Bible talks about goat demons and uses goats generally in a negative sense. This is not talking about a natural goat. This is actually talking about a demonic presence that's connected to this, that this isn't just a natural thing. It's not just a worldly thing. It's actually demonically generated to keep people trapped, to keep people stuck in this place that's supposed to be fun, but it's actually a trap. So that's the meaning of the dream. Take a look at how much of that you got just from those pieces. Now, here's the second piece. How do you communicate this to the dreamer? And we've got a couple questions that we want to ask in how we communicate this. Because there can be assumptions with dreams that because the dream says something, that it is inevitable. That if it's in a dream, then that's just the way that it is. And that's not always the case. And so the question that we want to ask before we give the dreamer the interpretation of the dream is this a dream from God that is a warning saying this is going to happen, and it's letting them know about something that's going to happen? Or is this a dream talking about potential? This could happen, because when it's talking about potential, then there are ways that it can be stopped, either through intercession or through intervention. So those are the two questions that you want to ask. And when I'm praying through this dream, this feels like this is a warning about something that the enemy wants to happen. Because when I'm in this dream with the dreamer, I can feel the angst of my son. Where's my son? What's going on? We've got to go save him. We've got to go fix him. And that emotional weight that's there, and that feeling of there's not a lot of hope left in the dream other than they're going to where the son is at. So there's some hope, but there's not a resolution of hope that's there. Generally, if it was a dream from God, there would be something along those lines. So this feels more like the dreamer is seeing what the enemy wants to do. And so there is the potential. Now, this is where application comes in. So after you've given the interpretation, then you give the application. The interpretation, hey, this dream seems to be saying that there's a season coming where your son can end up getting caught up in some worldly pursuits that seem fun at the offset, but are actually a trap. And the enemy wants to use that to keep him stuck in that situation. That's what the dream says. But here is how we would respond to the dreamer. This dream is saying that the enemy has a trap set for your son. God's let you know about this so that you can be praying and you can watch for the warning signs so that your son does not end up in the trap. What the enemy wants to do is to separate your son from the church and have that feeling of getting caught up in other pursuits and worldly pursuits that are seemingly entertaining, that are seemingly harmless, but actually are a trap that is set by the demonic to get him stuck. But here's where you pray. As you pray, God can change this dream from happening. So do not feel like it has to happen. You're being given some instruction on how to intercede, how to pray so that it does not happen. So that's your interpretation, that's your application, and that's how you're going to be communicating it with the dream. There are warning dreams that are just saying, hey, don't go down this path. This is going to happen. Usually those dreams are given to the person making the choices so that they can make different choices. This is not a dream about the dreamer being warned about what the dreamer is doing. This is about someone else. So this is for the sake of intercession. And that's our clue to let us know that there's an invitation to pray so that this does not happen. So that's one of your little clues that's in the dream as you're looking at it to make sure that you're giving the dreamer the hope that was intended, because God didn't let this dreamer have this dream so that they can just be scared about what's going to be happening to their son or left in this feeling of fatalism or defeat. Oh, this is going to happen. That's clearly not the heart and the intent of God. And there's nothing that the dreamer can do. There's no action that would stop the son from getting lost. So that's how we know that it's an intercessory dream. Is that making sense? I hope so. This was a really good dream just to recognize the application piece. We want to be able to understand the dream itself and what does the dream mean. But we also want to help the dreamer know how to respond to God. Both parts of that is important to a good dream interpretation that's actually bringing about the purposes, because dreams are communications from God. And once we've gotten to, not all dreams, but in general, and if you've had other teachings from us, you understand we know that not all dreams are from God. Little parentheses, but some of you might be new, and that would raise a question mark if you heard that without context. But dreams that come from God, they're intended, when we get the interpretation, we should give the person the intent of the heart of God. And God's voice is understood in the character and the nature of God. And so we bring that to bear in our communication of the things that God has said so that it bears the fruit that it was intended to bear. Hopefully you got something out of this Dream Lab, and I can't wait to see you on our next one. Until then, happy dreaming.